They say evil only knocks at your door in the dead of night. But what if it doesn't look like evil at first? What if it comes in the form of something familiar, even vulnerable, perhaps a child in need of help? This is the story of a strange and terrifying encounter, one that begins with a knock, but ends in something far more unsettling. It started, as these stories often do, on a quiet night. Brian Bethel, a journalist from Abilene, Texas, was sitting in his car outside a movie theater in the late 1990s, writing a check to drop off at a nearby office. It was a normal night, the kind where nothing unusual should happen. But then he noticed movement out of the corner of his eye. Two boys, around the ages of 9 and 12, approached his car. They were dressed normally, but something was off. They knocked on the window, and when he rolled it down just a crack, he immediately felt something was wrong. There was an unnatural sense of dread in the air, as if the world had gone eerily silent. One of the boys spoke. "Sir, can you give us a ride? We just need to get home to grab some money for the movie. It won't take long." The request was simple enough, but Brian couldn't shake the growing fear in his chest. His mind screamed at him to drive away, but something about the boy's demeanor held him in place. He looked closer, and that's when he saw it. Their eyes. They weren't normal. Instead of the whites of their eyes, there was nothing but pitch black, completely black, as if their eyes were hollow sockets filled with ink. No sclera, no iris, just an unnatural void where human eyes should have been. His breath caught in his throat as a wave of terror washed over him. It was the kind of primal fear that tells you to run, to escape before it's too late. The boys kept speaking, their tone becoming more insistent. "Just let us in. We can't come in unless you invite us." Brian's hand moved to the car door, almost as if compelled, but his instincts took over. He started the engine and sped away without looking back. Even as he drove, his heart raced and his thoughts swirled. What had he just encountered? It wasn't until much later that he learned he wasn't alone in his experience. In the years since Brian Bethel's encounter, dozens of others have reported similar sightings. The details may vary, but the core story remains the same. Black-eyed children, always appearing in pairs or small groups, knock on doors, approach cars, or even show up at windows. They always ask for help, often something small like a ride or the use of a phone. But there's always a catch. You must invite them in. And it's that invitation that seems to hold the key. Witnesses describe a paralyzing sense of fear in their presence, as if their very being repels the natural order of things. Their eyes, completely black, devoid of emotion or life, seem to lock onto their targets, pulling them into an unshakable sense of dread. Stories from around the world have emerged, people recounting late-night knocks at their doors, where strange children stood waiting outside, always insisting they needed help. Some claimed they were lost. Others said they needed to use the bathroom. But the unsettling part is always the same. Their eyes, and that creeping, suffocating fear. In the rural outskirts of England, one couple recalled a terrifying encounter one stormy evening. The wife heard a soft knock at the door, barely audible over the howling wind. She peeked through the window and saw two children, young, no older than 10, standing outside in the rain. They had no umbrellas, no coats, and their heads were bowed as if in sorrow. She hesitated before opening the door. "Can we come in?" one of them asked. "We need to call our mother." She was about to let them in when her husband grabbed her arm. "Look at their eyes. he whispered. She froze, heart pounding, as she realized what he meant. Those children weren't right. Their eyes were wrong, pitch black, no emotion, no life, just an empty void. They slammed the door and locked it, but even then, they could feel the presence of the children on the other side, waiting for the invitation that never came. So, what are these black-eyed children? Theories abound, but there are no clear answers. Some say they are demons, using the form of children to prey on the kindness of humans. Others suggest they are aliens, or some kind of interdimensional beings, passing between worlds and using our fears against us. There are even stories that suggest they are a modern-day version of the vampire myth, needing permission to enter your home or your life. The one thing witnesses agree on is that they must be invited in, and it's that chilling request, delivered with their lifeless black eyes, that seems to hold some strange power. What happens if you do invite them in? There are few reports from those who claim to have done so, and the stories that exist suggest a range of horrors. People have reported illness, nightmares, or worse, disappearing altogether after letting them in. It's as if these beings carry with them a darkness that lingers long after they've left. Perhaps we'll never truly know what the black-eyed children are or where they come from, but the warnings are clear. If you ever hear a knock at your door late at night, and you open it to find strange children asking to come inside, don't. Trust your instincts. Keep the door closed. Sometimes evil doesn't need to break in. It waits for you to let it in.